in the Dad Work Podcast, episode 69. Special number if you are Bill and Ted fans. Cue the Bill and Ted sound effect that I'm just not going to play here because, I'm not that good at getting sound effects to play. I don't know that I need them anyway. But we're here today talking about something that I have gone far too long without talking about. And I have to start with a story. And who told this story? I can't remember who told this story. I think it was Ryan King. Maybe I was talking to him. Maybe he was on a podcast of a friend of mine's, but he was telling a story about going to a family block party on his block and hanging out with the families in the neighborhood. And if you have any degree of fitness level or you do anything of discipline in the world, and God, the standard is so low, guys. People will start to poke at you and ask you, how do you do it? What's your secret? What do you do? And this is what they were doing for him. They're like, how do you stay fit? How do you work out? And then the woman and her daughter that were talking to him about this started to, and you've seen this because all movies about dads are like this. All dads and TV shows are about this. They started to poke fun at her husband, at the girl's dad. Oh, my dad could never. Could you see dad doing that? No way. Laughing at him, embarrassing this man in front of the whole neighborhood. And maybe he wasn't embarrassed because most guys are just like, oh, yeah, they laugh at themselves about it. But deep down, that's fucking humiliating in front of everybody. Pointing out that he doesn't have the discipline, he doesn't have the wherewithal, he doesn't have the ability to endure discomfort. There's no way my dad could do that. And yeah, it's just a silly little joke, but your kids are looking at this. And your son is watching this. And your son is seeing somebody that there is in no way in the entire world that he wants to be like. He's going to watch other men on TV. He's going to go find other men on Instagram. And you know that there's this whole manosphere of men that he's going to find and look up to. And if you don't make that yourself that man, they are going to go find it somewhere else. Your daughter, your son, and your wife. We can't be that guy at the block party, inside the family, out at the coffee shop. It's not just a silly thing anymore. The dad bod is out. It was never really in to begin with. But we have this culture that we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, so we practice as toxic empathy. We don't want anybody to feel bad, but I'm going to call you out. And you can call me out because there's areas where I'm dropping the ball for sure. I'm not perfect. You can do better. You can be better. You're more important than you know. We're going to talk about this now. I have a lot of clients in their 50s and 60s. I don't know if you know, I've been in the fitness industry since 2010. I still work with people rehabilitating, prehabilitating their bodies and helping them to thrive at 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and beyond. And some of them are so stuck in the narrative. some of them tell me, and some people that I've never known that I just meet, they tell me these things. And they say, you just wait. Your body doesn't the same way that it once did when you hit 30. And I tell them, I'm like, I'm 39. They're like, oh, wait until you hit 40. My body doesn't work the same way it does. I can't do that anymore. I used to be able to do that in the old days. But I'm at 40 with 3 kids under 5, training harder than I ever have, feeling better than I did when I was 25. And yeah, I have some things happening in my body, right shoulder that is a little bit grumpy sometimes, my left sacrum a little bit grumpy sometimes, not because I'm old, but because I've lived hard in this body. And just like a car, it requires maintenance. And nobody really teaches us how to maintenance this thing. So we just slap some painkillers or some booze over it, or we just pretend that it's okay. We just keep going. And then we wonder why it breaks down and why, oh, dad's body doesn't work like it used to. I can't get on the floor and play with you anymore. I'm too tired, buddy, right now. Oh, that hurts. Don't jump on me like that. I'm not waiting around for something to break down. I'm taking care of this thing because, well, I have a lot of life left. And also, I want to play with my kids down on the floor. I want to chase them on the playground and have them stopping and being like, Dad, wait, I got to catch my breath. I want my wife to do that in the evenings when my kids are asleep. You choose your story, man. I'm choosing a different one. 4 months into having my son, Theo, maybe it was longer than that, maybe it was 6 months. I don't really remember at this point. It's all blur once they get here. I stood up from meditation down on the floor in front of my infrared Juve light. And then I realized that I was on the floor and I was rolling, or at least I felt like I was rolling right to left, kind of curled into a turtle like ball. And it was like somebody had flashed 100 cameras in my eyeballs. And I had a hypostatic blood pressure event. I lost my balance. I literally just blacked out for a second. Then I was on the floor. I couldn't get up for a second. I didn't talk about it because I was like, well, this is not right. And also, the whole family depends on me, so I can't talk about this. And for the following days, I just didn't feel right. Spilling myself here. Dangerously high blood pressure. My heart rate felt like it wasn't coming down. And yeah, that was some anxiety tied up with this weird event that had never happened to me in my life. But the thing is, I had stopped training. I had begun training because, well, I had a family history and I wasn't going to go down that route. I had begun meditating and doing breath work because, well, I had a family history and I wasn't going to go down that route, not to mention my bout with anxiety and panic and coping with everything under the sun just to keep it together and not feel my stress. But I had stopped training. I told myself that I didn't have time, and I just bought into that narrative that, like, once you have kids, you just don't have time anymore, and you got to say goodbye to the gym and taking care of yourself. And man, I was wrong because it was in that moment when I was laying on the floor and in the following hours, and I was like, what the hell is going on? Let me do some testing and figure out what's wrong with my body. That I understood that this isn't about vanity. Yeah, it was performance. It was for performance for me before kids, but some of it's for vanity. But once you have kids, this isn't for vanity at all. This isn't about ego. This is about being fit for service, and being a father and a husband is the most demanding athletic event you will ever have in your entire life. And it isn't just a one and done. It isn't just one CrossFit WOD. It isn't just a 20+ mile marathon. This goes on until they leave the house. It will take everything from you. And if you're not taking it seriously and you're an unfit dad, I'm talking about physically, but maybe you're unfit in more ways than that, you're a liability to your family. Full stop. Not to mention being the butt of the joke and the terrible example that we talked about at the block party. There are 3 things that every single dad needs to train. These are not nice to haves. These are non negotiables. This is the foundation, guys. This is square one. I work with men to help them physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Be the pillars of patience, presence, empathy, playfulness, chivalry, courtship, leadership, deep connection, and devotion that their families need and deserve from them. Physical health is step one. It's the foundation. You can't skip it. This is how I would do it without a gym membership because I don't have time to go to the gym. That's my story. In reality, I want to spend every waking moment that I have with my wife and my kids. I don't want to spend it away from them, putzing around at the gym, driving to the gym, then I'm in the locker room, then I'm working out, and then I'm in the locker room again. Then I got to get in my car and drive somewhere else. That's not how I want to spend my time. So here's where we are as men. Only 23% of American adults meet the most basic federal guidelines for physical activity. That means 77% of people do not meet them. And you know what those guidelines are? 150 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic exercise. You know what that is? That's walking. That means 3 out of 4 men you know are functionally sedentary. You know what that means? Is that 3 out of 4 men you know are functionally useless if they have to do something physical. That's our birthright, and that's our biggest responsibility to the community and to the tribe. We are born with this gift of physical strength that women just don't have. It's our responsibility to maintain that and remain physically competent. And you know what? More than 3/4 of men are functionally useless in that way. Ah, and every single one of their children are looking at them, knowing that. Yeah, dad is functionally useless. I'm sorry if I'm giving it to you hard right now, guys. But they're also buying that story for themselves. Here's another one that stops me cold every time I read it and think about it. Because a lot of our ladies, a lot of moms, all the moms that go to the gym and they take their little cycle bar classes and they do their fitness yoga where they lift weights and do jumping jacks and they go do, I don't know, what is it now? The jumpaline classes. I just call them tramp. They're great classes. That's what I would call it if I was running one of those trampoline studios. Though, just call it tramp on the jumpaline. It'd be great. Our women are far more active than our men. And children of active mothers are twice as likely to be active as well compared to children of inactive mothers. But when it's fathers, it's 3.5 times more likely physically active. You only get one of these bodies, guys. And you might think your physical health is unimportant, like being able to get up and walk around. I'm talking about optimal physical functioning. Having the strength, the fitness, the flexibility, the energy to drive to go out and do things in the world and the ability to actually go do it. It's not important until it's the only thing that's important when it's leaving you. When you're sitting in the hospital and you don't have it anymore. And for most men, they neglect it to the point where that comes way sooner than it needs to, and then their wife and their kids are left to pick up the pieces. Children of active fathers are 3.5 times more likely to follow that path of activity than children of inactive fathers. And when both parents are active, they're 6 times more likely to be active themselves, not just as kids, but as adults, and to carry that through the course of their life. An active dad has nearly double the influence of just an active mom on whether his kids move their bodies or not. Nobody told you that you were that important and that being fit for service to your children and to your wife was that important, but I'm telling you now. The dad bod, this got my spare tire here. It's not funny. It's not relatable content anymore. It's a message that your kids are receiving right now about what a man's relationship with his body looks like, about what complacence looks like, about resignment, about just phoning it in looks like. And they're going to repeat that. And your daughter's going to seek that in a man. Cardiovascular disease is the number one killer of men. And low testosterone, which has dropped more than 1% every year over the last 50 years. And if you looked at Dr. Shauna Swan's work, which was updated, I think, in 2019, I think she's tracked it up to 2.7% per year, is directly correlated with inactivity, poor sleep, chronic stress, just from low testosterone. And men with higher muscle mass live longer. They think more clearly. They have healthier brains. They regulate their emotions better. And they show up more present for their families. This isn't about aesthetics, guys. This is about cultivating a self that is hard to kill, physically functional and capable, being the most effective tool and or weapon that you can possibly be, which was your responsibility to your tribe. And if you didn't have that, you were dead weight. What do we do with dead weight? We cut it. Right now, most men are dead weight on their families. It's about becoming hard to kill so that you can also be easy to love. We could talk about gorillas and chimpanzees here, but I'm going to save that for a different time, talking about testosterone and the alpha versus the aggressive, high stress, low testosterone non alphas. So we're going to get into the three pillars here. And the three pillars are these. Pillar number one is strength. Your strength is the foundation. This isn't bodybuilder strength. This is functional, real world strength, the kind that enables you to pick up your kids when they're quote unquote heavy, to carry them for a mile when their little legs get tired, to move furniture, to take the dryer off the top of the washing machine. And your wife's like, let me help you. But no, you have the strength and the flexibility and the resilience inside your body to be able to do it. The physical capability to build things without the next day and the next week being like, oh, my back, or to go shovel the snow. To be physically capable in any situation that life throws at you. And how do we cultivate this, guys? In my body, and yeah, you can do all kinds of genetic testing on this. I've done it. I'm basically 50-50 between fast twitch and slow twitch muscle fibers. I'm a perfect heavy strength and conditioning type. You can do genetic testing and figure out what's optimal for your body so you can dial in your training programming more. But honestly, guys, we're dads. I don't have time for that. I don't want to spend my money that way. I just don't have time for that. So here's what I would do. Progressive overload on compound movements. This means gradually building up the intensity and pushing yourself at or over capacity on compound movements that require multiple joints, so squats and deadlifts and pushes like a push-up, and rows, pull-ups, walking lunges, side lunges, reverse lunges. This density builds, improves testosterone secretion, improves insulin sensitivity so you don't have high blood sugar and you're not walking around with that blood sugar belly. Ugh. And that's what this is, guys. You got that belly fat that's primarily insulin and blood sugar, but more than that, right in the center, that's cortisol, that's stress. You can look at where you store fat in the body and just go Google it. I think BioSig was one of the first places that, or first techniques that I saw to do skin fold measurements and figure out what hormonal imbalances that you had. But you can look at any area in the body and figure out what hormonal imbalance that there is. Just strength training, guys. The non-negotiables for me: do some back squats, do some deadlifts, do some bench press, and maybe you're like me with your shoulders, with your hockey shoulders. You want to use dumbbells instead of a barbell. Do some strict press, pushing overhead. Maybe you like me, you want to use some dumbbells instead of some barbells. 4 movements. You build that around a training max, and you eventually build up and you figure out, okay, what is right around my heaviest that I'm capable of? And your training max is 90% of that. So you work around your training max, you train hard, and then you recover well. You're going to cultivate that muscle mass, that bone density, that testosterone, that insulin sensitivity that we all need, which means more energy, more better mood, thinking clearly, and a body that works the way that it's supposed to. Like we've said, lift heavy, do compound movements. You don't need to go to a gym for this, guys. You really don't. I don't have time for that. Go to Homegrown Fitness, get a barbell and some plates, get a squat rack if you want to spend a little bit more money. That's really it. That's all that you need. Maybe you're going to go on Amazon and spend $350 on the interchangeable dumbbells that go up to 80 pounds. So you don't need a whole gym worth of dumbbells. You've got those. You're good to go. That's going to probably run you about, I don't know, $2 to $3 grand. What would you normally spend on a gym membership? Well, if you're around here and all we've got is Lifetime and then Crunch Fitness, you're going to spend somewhere between $20 to $150 a month. And you can You can extrapolate that out over a period of time and figure out, yeah, you know what? It would be less than a year's worth of gym membership for me to invest in that stuff. Or maybe it'd be 2 years. Either way, you invest in that, you create a little sacred space in your garage, and then you don't have to go anywhere. And then you get the 2-for-1. You train at home, you save all that commute time and all that money that you're spending on a gym membership, and then your kids get to see you train. They're learning, and they're seeing what a man is, what a man stands for, what a man does. Even if he doesn't want to, they learn about discipline. And then they start to train alongside you. They start to just do the things that you're doing without you having to invite them into it. And maybe then you do invite them into it. And they are eager to train with you. Now, my son, 2 years ago, he was doing push-ups and burpees with me. He's 5 now, and he'll pull a little bench out. He'll set it up. He'll do some bench press. He'll do some squats. He'll do just random walking lunges down the yard. And then he'll go jump on the trampoline for a little while. I don't have to say a single thing to him. I don't say anything to make him do it. He didn't learn that from some class. He didn't learn that from watching some football player on TV. He didn't learn that from scrolling social media, finding some man that he looked up to. He learned that from watching Dad, who is the man that they should be looking up to. They shouldn't be watching some hero on TV and thinking, I want to be just like him. No, they should look at Dad and be like, I want to be just like Dad one day. I want to be just like Dad. That's pillar 1. Pillar number 2 is flexibility. This is prehabilitation. Don't wait until you have an injury. Figure out what's not working in your body right now and start taking care of your body better. Some of us, when we get our first car, we're like, yeah, I change the oil, I fill the tires, I do all this stuff. It's just what I do. And some of us, we never learned about that at all. And then your car breaks down and you're like, what's going on with it? And you're like, oh, I blew up the engine because I never changed the oil. Me, I learned the value of flexibility and yoga the hard way. I was lifting heavy. Yeah, I stretched a little bit, but I really wasn't doing mobility work. My back, my knee started breaking down, but I just kept pushing through it because, I had an Olympic lifting competition to get through. And then, well, I couldn't get up and down the stairs. I couldn't get in and out of my car without using the oh shit handle way more than I should have. And if that thing broke, I would have been on the floor because I was in so much pain. And this is me, professional trainer, working on rehabilitating people's bodies. And then after that competition, I was like, I got to take a break from lifting weights for a little while because my body's not right. And so I started doing stretches and started doing breathing postures to help expand my rib cage and decompress my spine, called foundation training at that time. And I started making this stuff up on my own. And then my wife, who was a certified yoga instructor, looked at me one day and said, do you realize that you're doing yoga? And I was like, oh, shit. Shit, you're right. You told me for years I need to do it. And here I am. And I needed it. And then I actually started going to take some classes that were right for me. They weren't the fitness dance pose style yoga classes. Now they're a little bit slower. The thing is that nobody tells us about yoga is it's not stretching, it's not relaxation, it's not this this hippie women's dance class that you strike poses and hold them for a minute and then you do 20 burpees. It's nervous system regulation. It's joint and movement integrity. It's fascial health, which is like a little casing on all your muscles that gives them shape, and your body actually communicates through fascia just like it does through the nervous system. And the fascia in your foot affects the fascia in your jaw. So if you got effed up feet, it means you're gonna have a tight jaw. It's everything. It's connected. And it's breath training all at once. It was so impactful for me, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally and spiritually. And it's why I'm sitting here wearing this crucifix right now, because it led me back to him, the King of Kings. But I do 2 different types. One, we might call yin yoga. It's a newfangled, newer version, I guess we could say. You're just gonna Hold passive postures for a long period of time. You go look at the gym, and you look at people warming up and cooling down. This is just what we call stretching. So much of this stuff in the gym actually comes from what's called hatha yoga, which is the positional yoga. We might call it the fitness, quote unquote, yoga. We're holding those postures for 2 to 5 minutes per pose. This is going to change the resting length of your tissues. And most of us guys, we're tight because we're in stress. We're tight because we're in stress, and that's why we have things tear. That's why we have injuries. That's why we have a thunk, thunk, thunk as I move my shoulder, because that joint is not moving properly. It's getting pulled out of position by the muscles that are too tight. So we hold these for a long period of time. It creates heat, softens the muscular contraction, the resistance. This works on the connective tissue, the fascia, the ligaments, the joint capsules. That most dynamic stretching, the stuff that you see where it's like, I'm going to do 5 to 10 reps of this stretch, moving in and out of it. That stuff never really reaches. That stuff's great for warming up. But yin, if you want to create structural changes in your body and release stored tension, not just in your body, but mentally and emotionally, you got to do this stuff. This also activates the parasympathetic nervous system, activating the relaxation response, meaning it down-regulates your stress. And you come out of this kind of practice feeling just, I'm so calm. I'm so much more present. I'm like really here right now. And yeah, it's a crying child, but like whatever. You're just much more regulated. So we've got yin yoga, long, passive, held postures to increase tissue length, increase your flexibility. And then we've got what we call inside of Order of Kings hardcore yoga. This is hatha, hatha, which means forceful. You think yoga is this beautiful hippie thing. That's what we got when it came to the West. Now hatha is hardcore. It's active. This is strength-based yoga. You're doing positions that are called warriors. You're holding lunges for 5 breaths, if not 90 seconds. It's a long time. I have guys come into Order of Kings that do this, that strength train, and they train hard, and then they come into this, they're like, I feel like I just squatted 500 pounds. I'm like, yeah. So after you've done all this flexibility work, this hardcore yoga builds the stability and functional range of motion that helps keep you trained the next 5 years, not while your kids are young, but for decades without breaking down. And the thing is, you're not playing with your kids with a barbell. You're not playing with your kids with a dumbbell. You're playing with them on the ground. You're playing with them at the playground. When you're doing hatha yoga, you have nothing but your body and the mat. Standing up, coming back down to the mat over and over and over and over again. It's just like playing with your kids. And I want to play with my kids. And that's dad's actual responsibility to our children. To come home at the end of the day, no matter what, to be able to get down on the ground and play with them. That's how they regulate emotion, stress. That's how they bond and build stable attachment. And if you can't do that, man, what are you doing? You can't do that because you don't have enough time. You can't do that because I don't know how to do it. Go take a class. I got tons of free stuff on my YouTube. Just go. And I don't just want to play with them. I want to play with their grandkids. People are going to be like, oh, wow, you're a legend. And I'm going to be like, no, I'm just factory settings human. So how does this work? Well, the fascia is the connective tissue web that holds your entire body together. When it's tight and restrictive, it pulls things out of alignment. Most knots, quote unquote knots in the body, are adhesions in that fascia from tearing it. When your fascia is restricted, it reduces circulation, it increases your injury risk, it creates chronic pain. Yin yoga specifically targets fascial rehydration and release, softening that tension. It gets water in there. And then you bring in the hatha yoga and you're continuously moving, you're stretching and returning to normal position, stretching, returning to normal position. We're rehydrating even more, and we're restoring really the factory settings of your fascia. This is why men who add it to their training start to feel 5, 10, 15, 20 years younger within weeks. I have a guy, Steve, who's had major hip surgeries and has had the doctors call him degenerative hips. But he does this work and then he goes in to be evaluated, and they're like, no, man, you have the hip strength and capacity of a professional athlete. And all that he's doing is this. He does the calisthenics that I give him because you don't have to just lift weights. He does the yin yoga that I give him, and he does the hatha yoga 1 to 2 times a week. This isn't just some hippie woman's dance class. Bessel van der Kolk, author of The Body Keeps the Score, places yoga among the top modalities for trauma recovery. And his point is simple and devastating. The body stores attention that the mind suppresses. And you know this when you're under a lot of stress, you're like, my neck and my jaw, they're really tight. My traps are tight. That's your body holding on to mental and emotional stress. But yoga is the most effective, one of the most effective physical modalities for actually releasing that. And by doing that, you don't just release tension inside the body, you release the mental and emotional tension, the stress that you're carrying around. Talk therapy gets to the mind, but movement reaches the body, and the body doesn't lie. It holds everything. And you think you suppress it, you think it's just gone. It's not. And research backs this up. Yoga and resistance training are among the most effective interventions for PTSD, with 3 sessions a week for 30 to 60 minutes over 12 weeks, producing significant reductions in PTSD symptoms. And also, giving benefits comparable to antidepressant medications for reducing symptoms of depression. You tell me I can just work out and do yoga? Yeah. I'm not a doctor. I'm just telling you what I've seen, what I've experienced, and statistics that I have pulled up in front of me here. Every single one of us, guys, is carrying something. Some of us know what it is that we're holding on to, be it budget, bills, our marriage isn't going the way that we want it to, we're worried about work. Some of us don't know what it is, but the body knows. And training it in the gym, lifting weights, and through hatha yoga and stretching with intention is how we start to release the physical and the mental and emotional stuff that we've been suppressing, that stress. And before every strength session, do some movement. Once you play with your yin and your hatha for a little while, you'll start to notice what positions, what postures, what movements really just kind of reset your body, what feels really good. That's what I want you to do. I have a warm-up that I call Legolas that you guys can get access to. I'll give you a link to it that I like to do before every warm-up or every workout. Once you know it, you can get through it in like 7 to 10 minutes. It just prepares my body to be able to move weights, restores functional movement and joint integrity, every single one of my joints. Doing this stuff is the difference between the man who trains into his 70s and man who blows out his shoulder at 45 and then never gets back under the bar and just tells his kid, dad can't do that. I'm almost 40. My body moves better now, functions better now, physically, and in terms of cardiovascular fitness and mobility-wise, strength, than it did when I was 25. It's not an accident. It takes intention. And then pillar 3, guys. Conditioning is the engine. Your cardiovascular system determines how much energy you have, not just in the gym, but at the end of a long day when your kids want to play and your tank is running low. I spent 8 years measuring people's metabolic efficiency on this metabolic cart. Plug them into the computer, measure their heart rate, measure their breathing, fat burn percentage, aerobic base, anaerobic threshold, VO2 max. We'd hook them up and run the test and get the numbers and then design their training program based off of that. It was cool. But it turns out that by paying attention, everything I learned through yoga, that I could find all of it and train all of it through the breath alone. That you don't have to be hooked up to some fancy metabolic cart to figure out your anaerobic threshold, where you stop burning fat, your aerobic base, where your maximal percentage fat burn is, your VO2, the maximum amount of oxygen that you can deliver within a minute, so that you can figure out what's the proper intensity for me to train at. You don't have to do that. You pay attention to your breath. And then you use it when you're training. You get every cardiovascular adaptation that the lab would give you, and you train your respiratory system and nervous system at the same time. The reality is, guys, that you should be able to go play with them at the park without huffing and puffing and catching your breath. You should be able to walk up the stairs without huffing and puffing and catching your breath. So, what are you going to do? Well, I like 3 different styles of cardiovascular workouts per week. I don't like steady state because beyond 20 minutes, it elevates cortisol, which is going to screw up testosterone. It's going to screw up your sleep. You already have enough stress in your life. So I like 3 different styles of cardiovascular workouts per week. And maybe you don't get them all in each week, but maybe you do. One is high intensity. This is a VO2 booster. This is the maximum amount of oxygen that you can deliver in a minute. And that's going to be short duration intervals, maximum effort. Maybe we'll say about a minute, and then a minute off, trying to downshift in your gears. Nasal breathing only, as long as you possibly can. Second workout is a steady state, aerobic base workout, nasal breathing. Go for a 20-minute run or 15 minutes, or hop on an Airdyne bike or your bicycle or whatever. Push. You should be able to recite the Pledge of Allegiance or sing a song, but we do want to see what's the highest intensity I can get to while still doing that without having to gasp for air, without having to catch my breath. The third workout is a mitochondrial density workout. Mitochondria is the energy powerhouse of the cell. We make them more dense, more efficient. You generate more energy when you're training. Nasal breathing, you're going to do longer duration intervals, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes with 1 minute off. You do the 2 different interval sessions. You do 10 minutes of each of those, 2 different days a week. Say you do one Monday, the other Friday. You do your run on Wednesday. You got this. Now, while you're nasal breathing, you got first gear. This is easy in, easy out nasal breathing. This is low aerobic. You're burning lots of fat here. This is recovery pace. You got second gear, which is you're breathing a little bit faster, power, in and out. You're working, but you're controlled. This is high aerobic. You're starting to burn a little bit of sugar here. This is your base builder. This is the gear where fat burns preferentially as fuel. Mitochondrial density increases. You got more energy powerhouses. Your aerobic engine gets built so you can pick up your kid and you can go for a run with them. This is where most of our conditioning work lives. And then we got third gear. It's that power nasal in and out. This is where you're working right at your anaerobic threshold, that maximum intensity where you can still burn a little bit of fat. This is where your ceiling gets raised. This is where your work capacity increases. We push it higher so you're capable of more. And then we get into fourth gear. This is the I have to open my mouth to exhale. And that opening the mouth gets more carbon dioxide out. That's huge. This is hard. And then you get fifth gear, which most guys will not get to. This is mouth in, mouth out. All out. You're doing sprints. This is where you're at. This is where you're at. Second gear training increases the number and efficiency of mitochondria in your cells. More mitochondria means more ATP, that's cellular fuel, available at any given moment. This is why fit men have energy at 9 p.m. and sedentary men are falling asleep after dinner, after popping their belts and their buttons open. Third gear and above raises that anaerobic threshold, meaning you can sustain higher outputs before you redline, more capacity, more resilience, more in the tank when your kids need you. The research adds to this, I just mentioned it a moment ago, but aerobic exercise is effective treatment for depression and anxiety comparable or superior to psychotherapy and pharmacology. Blah. Let that land for a second. The thing that you're already doing to build your engine is also treating the mental and emotional weight to the stress that you've been carrying. You're not just getting fitter, you're getting freer as well. You should talk about your shit, but it turns out you might not have to talk about it as much as you think that you need to. Here's what makes this different, though. The breath throughout our cardiovascular exercise is our measurement tool. You don't need a lab to figure out how intense you need to go. You don't need a heart rate monitor even. Your breath tells you exactly where you are. And if you can't maintain nasal breathing, you've probably gone too hard in whatever the workout is, unless you're in your intervals and you're in the last few seconds of your intervals. If you're doing your aerobic base building, back off. Find the gear, nasal breathing, and get into it. You're training your capacity to handle uncomfortable things, which will translate to uncomfortable moments with your kids and your wife. Nasal breathing also filters and humidifies the air, providing nitric oxide, which dilates the blood vessels, improves your oxygen delivery, activates the parasympathetic nervous system, and trains respiratory efficiency over time. It's simultaneously your performance tool and your recovery tool. And I've given you my conditioning sessions already. We've got your 1 minute intervals, hard as you can go. We've got your aerobic base building, 20 minutes. And then you've got your longer intervals, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes. Do this at home. Go for a run outside, get on your bike, whatever, jump rope. 3 sessions a week is enough to transform your engine. It doesn't take running a 5K or running a marathon. And take your kids with you. Once my son learned how to ride a bike, I was like, hey man, you're coming with me on my runs. And he loved it. Sprint in the backyard, do burpees with them, whatever. They think it's play, you know it's training, and they start to just do it naturally. So here's how everything comes together. 3 sessions a week, 2 to 3 conditioning sessions, 2 to 3 strength training sessions. Let's start there. Sandwiched in there, conditioning sessions. You might alternate strength, conditioning, strength, conditioning. If you're like me and you're like, I need more time to recover, strength one day, conditioning the next day, yoga the next day. It's not going to be a perfect 7-day schedule, but this is where we're at. Before you work out, do some hatha to warm yourself up. After you work out, do some yin to cool down. That's it. You can and you should do all of this at home before the family wakes up, during nap time, in the garage, after dinner, before bed. The dead hours are yours. You're not going to get more time. You can't control how much time there is in a day. You can only control how you use it. And so if you do a time inventory, you pick up your phone, you look at how many hours you're on your phone, you start to realize, I lose a lot of time. For me, I found that the dad hours are the only hours that I'm going to get this stuff in and still enjoy time with them. And so after I'd been rolling on the floor from falling over from my blood pressure, I realized, I need to get this in and I'm not going to rob them of time. I'm going to get up before the family's up. This is the only time that I can do it. The dad hours are yours before anybody wakes up, before the chaos starts. That's when you build the foundation that makes everything else possible, that makes you into the man that you could be for them. I do my morning practice, my breath work, my prayer, my vision, and then some days I train. Some days I do it in the middle of the day because that's the life that I've created. But by the time that the kids wake up, I'm regulated, I'm energized. I've done the most important thing that I'll do today and more than most men do throughout the entire day. Not because I'm special, but because I decided this was non-negotiable, not just for vanity, but because this is who I want to be for them. I own them so much. And the man who trains consistently is a different man at the dinner table, a different man when the kids are melting down, a different man in bed with his wife, a different man at work. It's a different man just out in public at the block party. And people are like, wow, you're different. My dad could never. That's right. Everything downstream gets better when you get your body right. If you're like me, somebody told you that your body isn't going to work the same after you're 30 or 35 or 40, and they just keep moving that number higher because they want you to be just like them. Maybe they were right about themselves, but they're not right about you. You were built to hunt, to carry, to fight, to build, to fuck, and your biology expects physical challenge. We grow because of that. And when you give it that, it rewards you with energy, with clarity, with presence, with longevity, with the ability to get on the floor and play with your kids and chase them at the park and they need a break. And to give it to your wife until she can't take it anymore and she needs a break. Dad bod is out, guys. The complacence resignment, it's out. Not because of vanity, but because your kids are watching. And what they see you do with your body, the discipline, the consistency, the willingness to do hard things, not just for yourself, but for them, that's the curriculum. Active dads, healthy dads raise active and healthy kids. 3.5 times more likely, nearly 6 times when both parents are moving. And wherever dad goes, well, mom usually follows. Nobody told you that you were that important. And now you know. Habits aren't taught, they're caught. Train hard, stay flexible, build your engine. Be hard to kill so that you can be easy to love. That is the work. And if you want what I do, I give what I do away for free. Last week's workouts are in the school page now. I'll give you the link, and I'm going to start putting these programs available for you to purchase and start from the foundation and Train Heroic as well. And if you want that, just shoot me a DM on Instagram, shoot me an email. I'll put the links in these show notes when I have them. And that's it, guys. Lead by example. Have an uncommon day. Peace.